Yeah, so I wanted to talk about how currently I think that things are changing rapidly in the United States as well as globally. Things are happening at rapid speeds and it's it's definitely difficult to 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 catch a break on some of these things because things are things are moving so rapidly. So as I sit here today, so one of the things that I'm thinking about is expenses in the United States and how expensive it is to truly live in the United States. And the United States is increasingly becoming a place where there are rich people and poor people. And I would consider most people in the working class poor people, regardless of how much money they make. And I would point to the evidence of the cost to renting has gone up, perhaps due to Airbnb, perhaps due to inflation, perhaps due to the rise of the internet and a lot of people using their workplace as their place of employment. And things are incredibly expensive if you are part of the working class. So if we factor in, let's say a person works 40 to 80 hours per week and they make anywhere between, let's say, 1,000 to $2,000 per week. It is still going to be increasingly difficult for them to live a comfortable life in the United States. Why? Because everything is so expensive. Food, transit, housing, medical, insurance. These things are incredibly expensive. Let's factor in student loans, the cost of education, that the average person in America leaves school with about 40 to $50,000 in debt. So they need the education so that they can get employment. Upon getting employment, they are saddled with debt. And with the debt, the debt that they are saddled with, they have to spend on average 36 months to, let's say, 80 months paying this back. This is years off their life. Okay, let's look at housing in the United States. Let's say a person wants to buy a house. How much money will they need in order to buy a house? Well, in order to buy a house in the United States, you have to make, let's say for the individual, a person would have to make around, I'm just going to throw a figure out there. Let's say $90,000 a year, uh, gross. So let's say they paid off all of their student loans. They saved approximately 40 or let's say $80,000. Let's say they take all of their savings that they've been saving throughout their 20s if they're lucky, or that their parents been investing for them, however they put the money together. Is it really wise for them to take their life savings and put it on a liability such as a house that's just going to drain more resources out of their pocket? And then let's say, well, they do that because they need a place to stay. Well, then they run the risk of spending days, months, years paying on something, and is well connected with if they get to keep their job or not. Um, and also what happens if they lose their job, they lose their income, then they lose their house that they spent all of their life savings on purchasing. So this is a major problem that I see in the United States. Okay. I haven't spoken about crime. Crime is increasingly high in the United States, as well as the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms, which is used by citizens as a means to carry concealed or non-concealed weapons. If you have ever paid attention to the news, you have seen mass shootings where hundreds, or in sometimes, and like it's maybe 10 or 12, but multiple people being shot and killed in the United States. In the last few years, some of the most memorable ones is the shooting in by San Antonio, where the guy came in and he shot a lot of children and killed a lot of kids in in that area. And then was it San Marcos? I don't remember the city, but is on the outskirts of San Antonio. Houston is increasingly becoming dangerous. Los Angeles, great home invasions, Dallas, New Orleans, Memphis. Not just with the school shootings that are rampant, but also on the day-to-day life, the average American citizen feels the need to carry a firearm to protect themselves from uh assault. Okay, it's a lot of problems in the states right now. And as well as rising cost of living, crime and safety, most people feel is on the decline. Even with the invention of more accurate camera security systems, it still does not prevent crime. It may capture the crime in progress, but it does not prevent crime. It does not deter crime. We see people stealing UPS and FedEx packages and on camera, and it is not preventing crime. So what is the solution? Should you vote for a new political candidate who is going to be tough on crime and incarcerate citizens? Should we vote for policies that uplift the poor and raise minimum wage and do things of that nature that's going to make living in the United States more bearable? But if you increase minimum wage, what effects will that have on everyone else and the cost of living? Well, we cannot change the world until we change ourselves. And it is increasingly difficult for us to be able to do certain things because the country is increasingly divided among racial lines, political lines, religious lines, actual physical boundaries of neighborhoods. Places like Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis, Little Rock, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, or places like Charlotte, Atlanta, Columbia, New Atlantic City, Newark, New York City, Philadelphia, DC. Buffalo, cities in Virginia, Miami, to the West Coast, Los Angeles, Fresno, Sacramento, Oakland, San Francisco, Portland. These places have seen a rise in immigrants as well as crime. Things are becoming increasingly hot in America. And if you are unaware, you are definitely at risk because you could be traveling somewhere within the United States and become a victim of one of these hotbeds of crime. Now, that's not to say that the United States is not a beautiful country. It's not to say that the economy is not doing well. It's not to say that you cannot come to the United States and make money, because surely you can. With the right education, the right situation, you can honestly make a wage that could be used to your benefit. But at what cost? The cost of your freedom, the cost of your time, the cost of your energy, familial relationships, where you have to sacrifice your time and energy and you're unable to be with your family and friends, your children, your wife, your husband. The divorce rates in the country, the marriage rates, the diseases in the country, the medicals, heart disease, lung disease, alcoholism, drug abuse. These things are running rampant within our country and developing into pandemic proportions or epidemic proportions. It's almost at critical mass, if you ask me. More people in the United States die of heart disease than tobacco abuse, alcohol abuse, car crash, and suicide combined. Now, that's not to say that those other things are not a huge issue, because they are. The food that we eat, the food that we consume here in the United States, the processed foods, the fast foods, it is increasingly difficult to find healthy food options in order to properly nourish your body. Labels lie in the United States, and even if you learn to properly read the ingredients and the effects that these ingredients will have on your body, it is becoming increasingly difficult to get food straight from the farmer and onto the plate of the citizens. More and more of the Americans' population's diet and the food that they consume comes from corporations. So I am an American. I'm born in America. I live my entire life in America, and I am proud of the progress my people have made in America, as well as the sacrifices my loved ones have made in America. But as a young person living in this time, I would be being untruthful if I were to say that I do not think about leaving the United States, at least temporarily, for another country that perhaps could give me a better quality of life. Why? Well, in conjunction with everything that I just previously stated, I think that life is meant to be lived. Life is not all about the job that you do, your occupation, where do you work, how much money do you make per year, and these things. Now, I am not saying this to influence anyone or to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do. I am simply giving my perspective on what I think. Hey, if you want to stay in the United States for the rest of your life, great. If a person is wants to migrate to the United States for a better life, great. If a person wants to buy property, real estate, build a business, run for president even, great. As for me, it is becoming increasingly difficult for me to envision myself as an old man in the United States. Why? Well, when I look at the old men that live in the United States, many of them are still working. Many of them are still going at it, still chasing the carrot in their 60s, in their 70s, unable to retire, seemingly. Now, I often ask the question, wow, if I would be 65 years old, 70 years old, would I still want to be out here working in this economy, especially doing manual labor, or let's just say any type of labor, mental or otherwise, for money because I need money? The answer is no. I wouldn't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I refuse to do that. I have to find a way out. Now, what is my dilemma? My dilemma is that I am in the process of learning more about how to solve my personal problems. But as I am attempting to solve my personal problems, I realize people that I love also experience these problems. And I realize, like, wow, I wish that some of these people would either work together so that we could build a stronger union so that we could survive in the United States, and or perhaps we would just understand that we are stronger together. But it seems like that is increasingly difficult. So I created a 5-year plan for me to leave the United States. This plan includes me saving money, paying off student loans, and me finding a way to just say, you know what? I've made enough money. I've done enough. I don't have to do anymore. I've done enough. And I think that the problem with the United States is no matter how much money a person makes, society brainwashes us to always think that we have not done enough. Society teaches us that you can always do more. You can always earn more. And they're always going to show you someone else or people. And we as humans are social creatures. It would be impossible for us to say that we are not influenced by others because we are social creatures. We learn socially, the language we speak, the ideas that we possess. We learn these things socially. We don't just learn these things independently or on the individual level. So groupthink is very powerful. Now, part of the dilemma that I have is learning to enjoy the process of meeting my goal of leaving the United States. Because let's say I only have 5 years left in the United States. I need to enjoy these moments because I may never get these moments again. But also, I realize that my mother is getting older. My son, he has to witness me work and be gone. My lover, she has to watch me leave to go earn money for days at a time. I do not want to continue this type of lifestyle moving forward, but I'm willing to sacrifice now so I can have the life that I want later. Yes. Let's talk about health for a second. Health is very important. Health is more important than money. A lot of people may not agree with that. A lot of people would say that money over everything, but I wouldn't put money personally over health. Health is way more important than money. I'd rather be poor and extremely healthy than rich and unhealthy. Now, how much money does one need to leave the United States? Well, I would say it depends. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to live? What do you want your lifestyle to be like? Is this for retirement? Is this just short term? Um, do you have skills that could help you produce more money? Okay. I'm looking at a few licenses right now to get better skills, skills that will equip me on my journey to becoming an expat, such as information technology skills, um, get licensed in that field, as well as learning how to build businesses for others, as well as in these next 5 years, building a successful business within the United States. So I am about 3 years away from paying off my student loans, maybe two and a half if I reach it quicker. I am about 5 years away from being financially stable on a level to where I can just leave. And this was what made me really just think about this because I'm like, okay, if I make enough money to where I could just leave the United States, or if I make enough money to where I could buy a home, let's say 15-20% down payment on the house, let's say that's 75, $80,000. I asked myself, hey, do you really want to take $80,000 or $60,000 and give to the bank so that you can secure a loan and owe another $400,000 or however much the houses cost and have to be indebted into this for the next 30 years? The answer is no. I do not want to do that. Well, okay. Now the next question is, well, do you want to be one of these old people who never purchase a home and they don't have a place to stay in their old age? I said, no, I don't want to do that either. Oh, well, are you invested in the stock market? Yes, I am. Well, what happens, and I think about this, what happens if I lose all of my money in the stock market? Well, I can't control that, so I might as well just continue to invest and hopefully it works out for me. If it doesn't, well, at least it tried. At least I tried. If it works out for me, great. I could take that money and use that as a means for retirement. So I've been to several countries internationally, mostly or all, I should say, in the Western Hemisphere. Last year, I went to Cuba 4 times. I like Cuba a lot. Now, I am at an advantage when I go to Cuba because I am an American and I understand the currency exchange rate and all of these things. But even if it wasn't for money, I like the Cuban culture. I like how people are. I like that the food is natural. I like the celebrations there. It's things about Cuba that I really love. And I would like to study more on the history of Cuba and the food of Cuba, how Cubans cook. I think that their food is amazing. I've had really, really good food in Cuba, and I like Cuba a lot. Puerto Rico, I like Puerto Rico a lot, which is not a country of itself now. It is a part of the United States, a territory, and but I would some would consider Puerto Rico its own entity. And now I'm not. It is a part of the United States, but you understand what I'm saying. If you've been there, it's the whole island is a Spanish speaking island, so is no other place that you could go to in the United States where Spanish is the dominant language on that level. Everywhere else, English is widely spoken, even if other languages are spoken there also. I like Puerto Rico a lot, and I like that I'm still in the United States in Puerto Rico. Um, but at the same time, Puerto Rico has its challenges, as well as most Caribbean nations, because it's not on the mainland. Everything is imported there, so that can make things more expensive, as well as the fact that Puerto Rico is the same as the United States in the sense that they have extreme poverty and they have wealth. But I like Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, but since it's part of the United States, people have guns there. Is increasingly dangerous, but it's beauty in Puerto Rico also. Okay, Jamaica. I like Jamaica, but I could not see me living in Jamaica long term because similar to Puerto Rico, I think that the corporations have just taken over this place so much to where it's hard for the everyday person to live. Is either you are working at on the resorts on the island, or you're trying to get off the island and immigrate to the UK or to the United States. And this is unfair to the the people in these places because the foreigners are going to come there and they're going to colonize the land, and they're going to trade places. Like, okay, you want to come here to get money. I've been living in a first world country, so I have money, and so you could come here and make money and get caught up in the rat race, and I'm going to go buy property in your homeland for 150, $200,000, and I'm going to get a fast track to citizenship, and then I'll be able to always come back to my country when I need money. Or that's what most expats think. You see? So we're trying to make decisions in an unfair world. Okay, why leave the United States? Well, like I said, if you have money, American money, or let's say first world money, then you can leave the United States. Not you can either do um 6 months, some people 3 months, hell, even let's say 30 days. That may be suffice for some people. But let's say a person wants to spend 6 months in the United States, 6 months overseas, where they could have a balance. Where, like, let's say they make $35,000 in 6 months in the United States, and then they live a better life for 6 months overseas where they balance it out. That's a much better deal where they're able to focus on their health. There's certain things, and it's like they don't have to work themselves to the bone in the United States. So St. Lucia, I've also been to. St. Lucia is a nice country. I would like to visit again. Um, there's potential there, but it's similar to Jamaica, but since it's further away from the United States than Jamaica, the tourism is not as great as Jamaica, and you could still live more like a local in St. Lucia. But once again, is poverty and then is wealth there. A lot of people come from France. A lot of people come from the United Kingdom and Americans, and even people from Asia frequent St. Lucia often. Okay. I have also visited Colombia. Now, with Colombia, I like Colombia a lot. Living in Colombia would present several challenges, but out of all the countries I've been to, I like Colombia the most. It has a coast, it has a mainland, and it also has a jungle. The Colombian population is about 60 million. I estimate over the next 30, 40 years, that population is probably going to grow in numbers tremendously. Okay. The cost of living is nice there. Property, and I could get a lot of first world amenities while only being about 30, excuse me, not 33 hours or 2 hours from the United States. You know, I could get a direct flight from Miami, New York, or Houston to Colombia. I simply want to change my lifestyle to where I have more autonomy over my 24 hours I get each day. Right now, I am currently stuck in a cycle where I have to trade my time and energy and my life source for money. This is very problematic. I cannot continue this. Not for a lifetime. A period, yes, because is 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 the situation I find myself in, but not for a lifetime. And I think a lot of young Americans are looking at things and they're saying, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to work 20, 30, 40 years for the system and get nothing in return. And it's not that we dislike our country. We love our country. Many of us have served our country honorably, whether they were in the military, whether they did the school route to benefit the economy, whether they worked in service industries or transportation or government jobs in honor of our country. But is the country which is made up of people, or the people in the country passing laws that would better promote peace? This is the question. So for me, I choose to suffer now, delay gratification, pay off my student loans, stay diligent, create a plan, build a business, and leave. And for those whom I love that choose to stay, I admire your strength. I really do. But that is not the life that I see for myself. But I do want to leave a legacy and help those people from my homeland, especially the state that I'm from, to have upward mobility. So when I die, I plan to leave a large portion of my estate to the kids that I see are like me where I come from. I would like to maybe do something with information and technology, computers, something that is going to be here for the future, some type of educational system or some type of education system that could benefit those people who are from where I'm from, who've been through what I've been through. And I have spent decades in my country and I have visited all over my country. So when I speak on my country, I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from someone who has been all around it, all through it. I'm speaking as someone who has a reference point where I've been to most of the countries except, I mean, not countries, counties and cities and parishes, in the case of Louisiana, in my country. So I know what it's like there. I know beautiful people there. And I would like to say in closing that the United States is a very beautiful country. From the mountains on the West Coast to the Grand Canyon to the coastline of the Pacific to the Gulf of Mexico to the the states that sit on the Atlantic coastline, from the entry point of Miami, that's like the Caribbean, to the coastline of Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, these places, to New York, the far East Coast, uh, as well as places in the Midwest like Ohio and Illinois, Michigan, and these places that sit on the Great Lakes and the states that border Canada. The United States is an immensely beautiful country with very beautiful people, diverse nationalities, and it is an amazing place. The culture that was created um there by the people who endured the most, it was a beautiful culture, and it is a beautiful culture, from the food that people partake in, to the music and the culture, to the resistance movements. That is a beautiful, beautiful culture. But I always ask myself, when can we get a chance to breathe? When can we get a chance to regroup, re-energize, refocus, and redirect? Because we have done enough. So for me, I have created an exit strategy. I hope I live to see it. I hope that I continue my journey of learning. And I hope that I am able to help others in the process. That's been my message for tonight. Anybody hearing this, I pray that you're doing well. I pray that you continue to shine and grow, and don't stop. Continue to grow, continue to learn, and that you can do anything that you're willing to sacrifice time and energy for. But your time and energy is precious, and you do not have to sacrifice your time and energy for the rest of your life to corporations and people who do not have your best interests at heart. Peace.